Funding for Overheard with Evan Smith is provided in part by Hilco Partners, a Texas government affairs consultancy, Claire and Carl Stewart, and by Christine and Philip Dial.
I'm Evan Smith. He's one of the great character actors of our day. A three-time Emmy Award winner whose credits include The Handmaid's Tale, Transparent, and, of course and forever, The West Wing. He's Bradley Whitford. This is Overheard. A platform and a voice is a powerful thing. You've really turned the conversation around about what leadership should be about. Are we blowing this? Are we doing the thing we shouldn't be doing by giving in to the attention junkie? As an industry, we have an obligation to hold ourselves to the same standards that we hold everybody else. This is Overheard. Bradley Whitford, welcome.
It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for making time.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Are you offended by character actor? I called you a character actor. Is that, I mean it as a compliment, of course, but how do you take that?
No, I love it. I want to be a character actor. I grew up in the theater.
Right.
And the lead guy, usually you gotta kinda be the same version of yourself. So I've always been attracted to what is commonly known as you know, a character actor.
And the thing is, being in a supporting role, I mean, that's what they call it award time.
So much better.
Being in a supporting role, it's a little bit more boutique-y, right? Like there are more interesting roles that are smaller within a production.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking about when West Wing started, and we did not think it was going to take off.
Yeah.
It was not a show that was a sure thing by any means. Nobody had done a political show. It seemed a little too, you know, smarty pants for broadcast television. But there's a moment, actors are not without egos, when shows start to take off.
Right.
Where you wonder, you know, who's going to be, you know, is there a George Clooney here?
Who's the breakout?
Yeah, who's the breakout?
You're referring, of course, to George Clooney's early time on ER when he was nobody and then he became somebody.
Right. And it was a tremendous relief to us all on that show that everybody was the star.
Right.
It was a real kind of team effort. So there are, certainly as an actor, you want to see if you can, you're interested in seeing if you can sustain a leading role. I remember when I met Aaron Sorkin, he gave me my career twice. I thank him for it all the time, but the first time was doing...
in the theater?
Yes, in the theater in A Few Good Men. And I came in a supporting part, and I understudied the lead. And at a moment when, no offense to me, the role of the lead character, the Tom Cruise character, should have gone to a fading television actor, he gave it to the understudy, which was me. And it meant a lot to me to know, as an actor, if you've never done it, you want to know, can I sustain, you know, the interest of an audience, you know, through a story like that? But I love being a character actor.
You don't mind that you are associated, it's 25 years since The West Wing, let's just say, out loud, that this is a significant anniversary year as we sit here. It's 25 years since that show went on the air.
Unbelievable.
Which is amazing to think about because it's also so present.
Yes, and
so
in 25 years, I'll be 89.
That's in another 25 years.
Yeah.
Well, you can come back and you can just be really hard of hearing and I can yell at you, actually, my questions. But if you think about that show at that time, really, it has had extraordinary staying power. There were shows that went on the same year or in later years that we have forgotten. They've come and gone.
Yes.
Part of this was the cast. It's an amazing assembly of people,
group.
right? But part of it is that the show itself, as you say, not a lot of political shows on television, has just remained really present in our mind. In some ways, it's a fantasy. Perfectly functional government.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why we think about it so much.
Well, listen, nobody is more aware of the, like, I refer to it as, you know, progressive porn. You know, it's very reassuring in these difficult times to watch, oh my God, all these really, like, well-intentioned, well-informed people are gonna, like, solve it.
Right, nerds, basically.
Yeah,
nerds.
I get that.
Yeah.
If you look at the show, we didn't get much done. We were not very successful within our fictional world, which I think is often forgotten. I think the show, first of all, I think it's very important to have a show out there that is showing the importance of public service in a non-cynical way. I think at the core of the series and in every episode was a very important question in a democracy, which is, how dirty do your feet have to get without you disappearing in the mud in order to get an inch of what you really want to get done for the next generation?
Right.
That, I thought, was realistic. We weren't just solving problems, although we did take care of the Middle East in 2 episodes. I am
Pretty good.
I am saying that. But I used to get defensive about it, and we were on when The Sopranos, which I think is the greatest television show of all time, was on, and people would say, well, your show's a fantasy, and I'm like, no, a mafia guy in therapy is a fantasy.
That's a fantasy. But remember, I said functional, I didn't say productive. Right?
Oh, yeah,
Which
yeah,
I
yeah.
think is different. I mean, we've now, to your point about how, we have to tell people over and over public service is a good thing. Doing things for all of us is a good thing. There is such a thing as the common good. That show reminded us every week, whether you got anything done or not,
yes,
you reminded us that government is not bad.
Right.
Or all bad.
Right. And I actually believe it's something I think about a lot. I know we're on PBS and it's totally nonpartisan, but the fakest thing about West Wing was we had rational Republicans.
Right. Not just any rational Republicans. Alan Alda.
Alan Alda.
Right?
Yeah.
Alan Alda.
Super sweet guy.
Right.
And the show is about something that I think is really important in my off-screen partisan life, which is that it's very important, and I say this all the time, but politics is the way you create your moral vision. Too often, especially people who tend to agree with me politically, think it's culture, and culture is extremely important.
Yeah.
But West Wing won't help you if you have a pre-existing condition. Handmaid's Tale, big hit. How's the choice thing going in Texas?
Well, I was about to say, I mean, if West Wing is a fantasy of functional government, The Handmaid's Tale these days, subjugation of women is kind of like a documentary.
Right. Oh yeah, it is. It is. I'm tracking the death of democracy in my career.
I mean, and let's put between those two Transparent, right? Which is a show about the dignity of people who've made a choice on their gender identity as opposed to their biological sex, and yet right now find themselves in the sights.
Yeah, it's one of the most despicable things that is going on right now, using people who are expressing their personal freedom in a very private way and turning them into political footballs. It's what fascists do. Gender and sexuality freak us out.
Yeah.
And otherizing people who make different choices than us is a time-honored tradition of, tearing down democracy.
Especially at election time, right? It's a campaign tactic as much. So you've done a television show that's about democracy, right? You've done another television show that's about the dignity of trans people. You've done a television show and are doing, because The Handmaid's Tale is still on.
Yes.
Right? A 5th season was 2022. You had the writer's strike delaying the 6th season. 6th season is now beyond, I think, in 25, they're saying.
Right.
Right. That's about the rights of and the freedoms of women. You were in Get Out, the great Jordan Peele movie, which is about many things, but I think of it first and foremost about race in America.
Right.
Right? You are always with your choices, or often with your choices, at the center of the national conversation at that time, which I think is an interesting thing. Is that conscious on your part?
No, I'll tell you a story.
Because you've been in a lot of things that had no political consequence, issue relation whatsoever.
Well, I thought Billy Madison was very important.
Well, that may be the best thing you've been in, actually, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you a funny story that is Texas related. When I was shooting Perfect World here with Clint Eastwood. I'm sitting on the set in a set chair next to Clint Eastwood, whose heart is beating once every 3 minutes, and I'm reading the New York Times. We used to have these things called newspapers.
And you held them in your hand.
Yeah, you would hold them.
It's incredible.
And he had just won the Oscar for Unforgiven.
Which is a great
and
movie,
there's a big cover story in the Arts and Leisure section, Clint Eastwood's vision of America. And I go, hey, Clint, did you see this? This is your vision of America. And he's like, vision of America? He's like, 6 years ago, I was working with an orangutan. Now they think I'm Gandhi. He's like, he's like, I took the best job available. I have been very, 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 very lucky because these have been, all of them have been extraordinary creative experiences. West Wing, Transparent, Handmaids. That they have also, and Get Out, that they have also been part of the national discussion. It is not something you can plan.
I mean, again, it's only a portion of what is an extraordinary list of things you've been in. I mean, I'd even mention The Post, which is a movie that I thought was much better than the attendance in the theaters would suggest to you, where you were...
I'm just finding out about this. It didn't work.
Did you not know that it was not a success? I'm sorry to tell you. Right. But again, like, freedom of the press right now is another thing. We're all the enemy of the people in the press. And here was a story about how the Post really brought the Pentagon Papers to light in a way that, exposed the things we needed to see.
Something that is very interesting to me, we're talking about a sort of nexus of politics and media, right? There's something that's very disturbing to me, and I'll be nonpartisan about this. You can have an affair in the Oval Office that is totally inappropriate. You'll be forgiven. Go to war based on false intelligence without a plan. You'll be forgiven.
Right.
The death penalty in politics, and this is both funny and disturbing, deeply disturbing to me, and I think it explains a lot of what is going on now. The death penalty in politics is reserved for my greatest, most shallow fear. It is reserved for being bad on TV. That is unforgivable.
Right.
It is.
Go back to the Nixon-Kennedy debate and how.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a long history
Howard
of this in
Dean
this country.
screams, "Get out!"
Right.
Al Gore is like kind of condescending. Hillary looks like she's thinking, as opposed to somebody who, not to be partisan, but seems kind of like a rodeo clown who's about to pull his pinky off and light it like a cigarette. That's really good television. That's really good TV, and it's a little scary that. And we have to be very aware that we are conducting public discourse in the age of entertainment. It's a little unnerving, and we have to be aware of how that can be manipulated.
Well, the way we judge success now, to your point, is the thing that we're watching entertaining? And sometimes the hard conversations we have to have with one another and with the country are not entertaining.
And it's more fun to watch a car wreck than to watch a car stop at a stop sign.
Yeah.
And that's in a media culture that is incentivized by clicks.
Right. You accept that the media bears some responsibility for us being where we are.
I think it's your fault.
It's my fault personally. Seriously, right? Yeah. Okay, good. That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I won't sleep tonight. So let me ask you about your. Have now said a couple different times that you're a political person. You have points of view that you're happy to express out in the world.
Yeah.
Outside of the boundaries of a role you may be playing at that time. You know what the facile response to that is. Why can't you just do your art? Why do we out here have to listen to you talk about politics? Can't you just be an actor and then go home? Do you think that, I think it's a straw man argument, of course. You're a citizen and a human like the rest of us. Of course you have a point of view. But this tension, it's not just a new tension, it's been an old tension.
Listen, I share the queasiness. I have shared that when, as I'm coming up and, hearing actors get political. It's interesting to me that the people who are usually telling celebrities to shut up are self-appointed celebrities who wear makeup like Sean Hannity, saying, you know, they should shut up.
It's the old shut up and dribble argument that was made to LeBron James.
I mean, eventually I got to the point where, like, you know, there's nothing less democratic than telling someone to shut up, so they should shut up, you know?
Right.
For me, I think it's been very important. It's very odd honestly, within your family, and certainly in this culture, you get a bizarre amount of attention.
Yeah.
And celebrity is something that I wanted to sort of spend consciously. And I feel like these issues that I've been involved with are really, really urgent, especially at this moment where I want to make sure that young people can hold on to the, you know, fundamental, unfulfilled, spectacular promise of this country, which is that their future is an act of their own imagination. And I want to use the sort of really ridiculous amount of attention that I get in sort of a productive way.
You have a platform. May as well use it.
Yeah, and people say, well, is it because you were on a show and you're like walk? No, I'm from a Quaker family. Politics was very important in the house.
Right.
The whole idea was you need to be involved, and that you don't just get a democracy, you got to make one every day.
Yeah.
I think we've all thought that there was kind of inevitability of democracy and decency, and we have to relearn over and over that we can't take any of these things for granted.
And
it
we've
sounds
been
like a West Wing episode.
But we've been reminded repeatedly over the last few years that the things that we took for granted and that we thought that will never happen actually turns out good, right?
Oh yeah, and you understand how we all need to be participating in this at this moment. It is at an extraordinarily vulnerable point.
You don't want to cede control to other people. You want to have control yourself. So you mentioned your family. Let's do the bio part. So you were born in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Raised in Wisconsin and also
Pennsylvania.
Right.
My family's kind of funny. My parents had 3 kids. Huge break. My brother, the mistake. I'm kind of the mistake's friend. So my parents were born in 1914, 1915. I was born in 1959. Speaking of the vulnerability of rights we should not take for granted. So my mother was, 6 before women could vote. When I was 4 years old, we moved to Pennsylvania, and I moved back and went to high school in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Then I went to college.
Wesleyan University.
Yes.
Hamilton College. We're NESCAC's Northeastern small college guys.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
what
we
a
should
great
high-five
thing.
probably
What a
about
great
that,
thing
right.
for us, and
Nobody else cares.
Yeah.
Right. I try only to book people who went to small liberal arts colleges on this show, so that's how this goes.
So
that's my secret.
So I went there, and then I always loved, it was always what I did. I was in as many plays as I could possibly be in since an anti-smoking skit in 6th grade. It was just what I always did, but in Wisconsin, you don't know anybody. I'm sure in Austin, people whose kids were, like in Wisconsin in the 70s, it would be weirdly narcissistic and totally unrealistic to even say, I want to be an actor.
Right.
But I did it all the time. I did a lot of plays at Wesleyan, and then kind of on a whim, I auditioned, and then I got in.
Got into Juilliard.
I got into Juilliard. I told my dad, think of it as med school with guaranteed unemployment at the end. He was very supportive, but
you did significant theater over your career. I mean, the reality is you did Shakespeare very credibly and competently. And a lot of other great...
That was the review, competent.
Competent. He was competent. You were a serious stage actor. I mean, the thing is, we know you primarily from TV, somewhat from the movies,
yeah.
but you were really a serious
No.
stage
Doing
actor.
plays, my wife is here and she knows, like, I get all these really lucky acting opportunities in these incredible creative situations,
Yeah.
but I am never happier than when I'm doing a play.
So that's first. If you had to rank order those, stage, TV, film, stage first.
Doing a really interesting part in a great play, there's nothing like it, and you're spent at the end of the night. You know, you're a pawn in storytelling as an actor, and on stage you're telling the whole story, beginning to end, 8 times a week. On film, you're doing it once, out of sequence, in snippets, and you don't feel like you get your yayas out. The problem with being an actor is that you are a pawn.
Yeah.
And you begin to, if you're as obnoxiously lucky as I am, you begin to get anxious to take more responsibility for the story rather than being dependent on somebody writing it, somebody casting you. The reason the West Wing cast, I just want to interject, was so, I think, extraordinarily good is they were all a bunch of stage actors. I mean, Allison Janney, everybody in New York knew, you know, somebody said, how do you, get someone like Allison Janney? You get somebody who is an instinctively talented person. You do not let them become a star. You make them do 8 shows a week for a decade, and then you get Allison Janney.
Do you think that getting an Allison Janney or getting a Rob Lowe at that time or getting Martin Sheen at that time was because of Sorkin? Could anybody else have gotten those people together, or Josh Molina? I mean, if you think about... No, say again?
No.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think, look, the whole Sorkin thing over time has been parodied, the walking and talking stuff, the Sorkin approach. But when you go back and look at that show, to kind of come full circle here, 25 years later, it still holds up. Creatively, the vision for that show, you understand why the show worked. And you understand why people were attracted to it to the point that they were willing to sign on to a show like that as part of the cast.
It was a very interesting experience. I mean, Aaron, a blessing in my life. Like, this is a guy who trusted me with his voice on stage, and then, I mean, as an actor struggling, you're swimming upstream against a barrage of terrible material and rejection, and then suddenly, like, this writer at the height of his powers is writing for you.
For you.
And I've never surfed, but I think it's what surfing feels like. It was just like, oh my God. An interesting thing, a wonderful thing about Aaron's writing is he writes like he's on a first date. Like it's the kitchen sink. Like this is going to be funny, this is going to be thoughtful, this is going to be moving. There's a tremendous insecurity underneath it, which makes these parts so much fun. And it was not Aaron's desire to serve civic vegetables that made that show work. It is precisely the opposite. It's Aaron's desire to entertain an audience meeting C-SPAN that made that show kind of take off. And it was at a time when politics was, Hollywood's really stupid in many ways. One of them is they think in genres, like a baseball movie fails and they go, well, baseball movies don't work. Well, no.
That baseball movie didn't work.
Bad baseball movies don't work. And politics was an arena that nobody thought would work. And I remember talking with Aaron as we were about to do it and saying, I really think this should work. There's basically every show you watch is a soap opera that takes place against a background of inherent conflict. And you add the theatricality. It's also, West Wing is really like a backstage drama. It's an interesting thing, and I know I'm talking too long.
It's okay.
And it's a little pretentious, but it's PBS.
Come on, right. It is so on brand.
Oh, it's
right?
So, people are just knitting and
nodding off and then waking up and nodding off and waking up.
Oh, he's still on.
This is never going to air, by the way.
I know. I know.
Right, yeah.
None of it's going to air.
Right.
But it's interesting to me, and it's pretentious. A guy at Juilliard was saying to look at Shakespeare as the truth. That the documentary is not the truth of what is going on. Fiction, an old man staring at a fireplace with a blank face is not actually the truth. The truth is the soliloquy that Shakespeare would write going on in that guy's head. In this day and age, where even back then, public discourse is basically an exchange of publicity, of predictable talking points sort of bashing up against each other. What the show was able to do that was truthful was show actual politicians struggling to come to the place before they would go out and present their position.
And we don't get to see that.
Yeah, and we don't get to see it.
It's been amazing to get to sit with you.
It was a real joy.
Thanks so much. Bradley Whitford, give him a big hand. All right, great. Thank you. It was really fun. We'd love to have you join us in the studio. Visit our website at austinpbs.org/overheard to find invitations to interviews, Q&As with our audience and guests, and an archive of past episodes.
You have to generate your own material. I think that you really do. And I say this to actors because in acting, you're basically taking your self-esteem, putting it on a platter, and handing it to a schizophrenic.
Funding for Overheard with Evan Smith is provided in part by Hilco Partners, a Texas government affairs consultancy, Claire and Carl Stewart, and by Christine and Philip Dial.